Thank you so much for staying with us on this particular edition of International Forum. I am Wilson Marshall. Today, it's all about Derek Chauvin's sentence, 22 and a half years. Some are calling it 22.5 years. Some say 22 years and 6 months. Yes, various reactions, no matter what you choose to call it, you are correct. But with this sentence, is it going to change anything? We'll talk about black lives in America. That is what my guests will throw more light on. Before that, let's take a look at some stories making the rounds globally. Let's move straight down to Ethiopia, where the Tigray region, and of course the soldiers, they are still rampaging, they are still ravaging, they are still fighting, but now they're trying to bring them together. Let's come to a round table. Let's get to talk. Let there be peace. You think it's going to happen? Despite the fact that they still fight in the Tigray region, Ethiopia is talking about election. I mean, come and think about it. Now, the big question now is, if this trouble, this turbulence goes on, do you think it will be fair for them to have an election in that region? All right. Now, what do you think should be the right thing for them to do? Do you think it's to call the warring factions together? Because Tigray said they want to be on their own. And the government of people are saying, no, we are one nation, you go nowhere. And Tigray region, they are known for being the powerhouse when you talk about military might, when you talk about defending the country, Ethiopia. That is what they are known for, fighting to ensure the safety of Ethiopia. But due to one or two things, they fell out with the government of Ethiopia and they choose to stay on their own. That didn't go down too well with the government of the day, and they unleashed terror in that region. Of course, Tigray, they fought back, and the fight is still raging on. Do you think the talk for peace will bring succor to the devastated region of Tigray, or do you think it's going to be fight to finish? Many women are without husbands, they've turned widows. Many children are without fathers, even mothers, they've turned orphans. What do you think should be the right way to really resolve this crisis? Do you think a roundtable talk will make any difference? Let's keep watching. Ours is to report back to you, because in war, there are no winners. There are no winners. Moving away, let's move straight down to India, where they are talking about another kind of vaccine manufactured in India to fight against COVID-19. Yes, COVID shield, they call it. Do you think it's going to make any difference? Don't forget that India in recent times have been worst hit. We're talking about millions right now of vaccines being produced, and they want the UN, the World Health Organization, to approve this new COVID shield. They produced it, they manufactured it in India. They said this is meant for Indians, especially for Indians, because of the way the Delta virus of COVID-19 is ravaging that particular country. South Africa have similar case. They call it the Delta variant. I wonder how the name of these things. I just keep on wondering the power of mutation, the frequency of mutation, the ease with which this virus tend to adapt to its environment, so to speak, mutating from one form to the other. Do you think COVID shield can really do the trick? Do you think that COVID shield can break, the strength, the jinx, or will I say the mycelium, so to speak, that surrounds the virus? Yeah, you're surprised. I did biochemistry, so I kind of able to remember the name. Can it break the shield to make it ineffective to humans? Keep waiting for the World Health Organization to see what they're going to talk about it, if they're going to approve COVID shield, if it's good for Indians. I don't think other parts of the world should have a bite. We'll talk about this COVID shield. Anyway, let's keep watching to see the efficacy of this COVID shield. All right, finally, let's move straight down to France, where the election is still raging on. Pen is not backing down. Macron party, they are not backing down. But there was a failed rally, maybe due to COVID-19 outbreak or trying to check the spread of COVID-19. The far-right rally, though both parties have not been impressive. Yes, Emmanuel Macron's party, they didn't meet up to expectation. We talk about the mark of the voting might. Even the far-right party, also led by Pen, they are performing below expectation. And the far-right party chose to go out for a rally to garner more support, but it failed. Some are blaming it on COVID-19, saying we have to follow rules and regulations governing the fight against COVID-19. Others are saying it's like the French citizens are not even interested anymore in the election because of the dastardly effect of COVID-19 in that country. What do you think? Well, with this virus on the ground committing or devastations here and there, committing havoc here and there, do you think the election really have the momentum which it had the previous time, talking about the time of Macron, when Macron became the president of France? Or is it going to be the topsy-turvy kind of election, the sluggish kind of election characterized by voters' apathy? Do you think they'll come out in mass to say it's time for us to choose our leader, even with the presence or in the presence of this ravaging virus? Only time will tell. But as it stands right now, both the far right, the far left, they're performing far, far below expectations. Anyway, we'll go on a break. When we return, I will introduce my guests and we'll put the show on the road. Welcome on board International Forum with Wilson of Marshall. I'll be right back. Okay, it all started when this man, George Floyd, was like, screaming, "I cannot breathe." It took up to 9 minutes for him to lose consciousness. When he was rushed to the hospital, he was declared dead. And Chauvin Derek was the one that placed his knees on the neck of Floyd. And that sparked outrage in America. There was massive protest. Even in the heat of COVID-19, they forgot about the rules saying Black Lives Matters. Black Lives Matter. So that was how everyone, celebrities, sports personnel, you just name it, choose to do one or two things to, be in conformity with that particular statement of a black life. Yeah, having a meaning. After the unrest and all that, there was time for them to go to the court, and after everything, he was sentenced 22 and a half years in prison for being directly involved in the murder of George Floyd. Many came out and said, yes, this is a welcome development. It's going to serve as deterrent to those policemen that don't value black lives. Others are saying, what is 22 and a half years? Just like a slap on the wrist. Why some just felt indifferent about it? What do you think about it? With me here in the studio, I have a lecturer from UNIBEN. Join me to welcome Honorable Frank Amigo. Welcome to International Forum.
Thank you.
Appreciate your coming.
Good afternoon.
All right. And of course, I have a legal practitioner, public affairs commentator. Join me to welcome Barrister Osanho Osazua. Welcome to International Forum.
It is always my pleasure being here.
All right. Let me start with the legal practitioner. I have a reason for that because, this is a court thing right now. And of course, quoting laws and constitution based on the U.S. way of doing things. What do you feel about the 22 and a half years imprisonment slammed at Derek Chauvin because of the role he played in the death of George Floyd?
Yes, thank you very much, Winston. Ordinarily, one will look at the 22 and a half years sentence given to Derek Chauvin, a former Minnesota police officer, as inadequate, not fitting the crime, not fitting the inhumanity displayed that day, and the soul-wrenching and heart-breaking cruelty that was meted by man on his fellow human being. One would think so. But when one looks back to see where the black man in the U.S. is coming from, one will not but jump up and applaud oneself that yes, this indeed is a positive development. I tell you something, Winston, it is very sad that the black man has been the recipient of unimaginable suffering, unimaginable display of hatred and cruelty at the hands of the white man in the US for centuries. If you look at the history books, if you look at the past, what has happened, not just slavery, way after slavery, way after the Reconstruction era, beginning from the late 1870s till today, the black man, he has been beaten, he has been dehumanized, he has been abused, he has been used and misused repeatedly. So for the first time in a very long time, we see a white police officer being sentenced for the death of a black man. Before, it never happened. But we thank God for technology. We thank God for the way the evidences were caught on tape. We thank God for the way so many white folks now, which again was also due to largely because most of them were at home during the lockdown, the COVID lockdown, they saw it, they watched it, and they had to come to terms with American institutionalized and systemic racism. This is what their forebears did to the black man. And for once it repulsed them. For once they couldn't stand the shame again. They came out, they marched with the Black Lives people. For the little city of Glen Odo, somewhere in Georgia, to the big cities of Los Angeles, somewhere in California, they all came out. As the black marched, the white people marched with them. That look, it was a kind of soul searching. Maybe I could quickly put this in historical context. In 1992, a similar thing happened to Rodney King. Rodney King was brutally murdered by 5 white police officers in Los Angeles. It was the first time that it was also caught on tape. And they saw that the treatment indeed was not even fit for a dog or a cat or a goat. But here we had a human being, human in the most absolute sense of the word human, being beaten like this, being dragged on the streets and being dismembered by these 4 people. So what happened, because it was also caught on tape, those guys were arrested, they were taken to court, and on the day the judgment was given, they were acquitted. And after the acquittal, the whole US went on fire. Riots, shooting, looting all over the US. But we have come a long way from 1992. That impunity has been, that myth that you can do anything and get away with it as long as you are white and your victim is black, is being demystified, so to speak. Okay. Responsibility and consequences for actions, they have started cropping in. And we thank God that has happened. And we hope that it will be sustained. And also give big credit to President Joe Biden.
We'll come to that.
Under his watch,
we'll come
this
to
is
that.
happening.
We'll come to that. We'll come to that Joe Biden factor. Well, you heard him. He said this is like a boost to the Black Lives Matters coroners or campaigners, so to speak. Do you share his views and opinions?
Yes. What has played out, I think the past 16 years, we've had on record about 9 police officers being brought to the point at which Derek Chauvin has come to now. But Derek's imprisonment now, so to speak, is a rare kind of judgment, in the sense that you convict, sentence for this length of years. It has gone down history and everybody is happy with it. And at the time, I was wondering, because I knew before now that a name is a symbol of character and identity. Derek Chauvin played out his name. Chauvinism. Aggressive, and it's a kind of aggressive patriotism that he took too far. What was expected was he should have arrested George Floyd at the point of arrest, why would you kill him? I know they've killed several black persons in America, other parts of the world, but this one became so obvious to the point that the whole world saw it. And as my colleague here said, all thanks to technology. So what is playing out now is well applauded. But to the family members of George Floyd, they are not happy. Once you said in your opening servo that it was going to be a slap on the wrist. They were thinking 22.5, so to speak now, it was too short a time to imprison such a very human treatment method on their folk. So what they see there is they should have given him a life sentence, or at least 40 years. That was the maximum, according to law there. So what has played out, based on what Joe Biden said, is we are going to have better days for the blacks in the American continent, maybe other parts of the world. So what I'm seeing there in essence is all these things lingered for too long a time before they could address it. You don't have to wait for this number of donkey years to be able to do what is right. And when I listen to the daughter of late Floyd, George Floyd, the 7-year-old daughter, that she's missing her dad. Though for such a girl to be saying that, I became so, I felt so bad to the point that the way they have put this girl's life now, that memory is going to linger on for a lifetime. So even the relatives of George Floyd, they are not happy with it. But in spite of all of the unhappiness and all that, I expect that at least for the first time, such a personality of Derek Chauvin has seen justice. So they should be kind of happy with the justice method on Derek Chauvin. And with that, they shouldn't drag the matter further.
They shouldn't drag the matter further?
They shouldn't.
Okay.
But I also know in law that Derek Chauvin has within 90 days to appeal that judgment.
We are coming to that also.
So, yeah.
We are coming to that now. According to the law of Minneapolis, so to speak, 40 years. And they choose to go for 22 years and 6 months. Like what you rightly said, the family members of George Floyd are not really happy with that judgment. To them, it's like a slap on the wrist. They were expecting life imprisonment. In some extreme cases, life for a life. Take it up from there.
Yes, looking at it contextually, and also based on the law, they have what they call sentencing guideline there. Under the sentencing guideline operating in Minnesota, the judge had a maximum of 15 years. Most of us don't look at that. Under the sentencing guideline, he could have gotten just 15 years and walked away. And then, again, under the crime itself that he committed, there was a maximum sentence of 40 years. There's no life there, there's no death, just 40 years maximum. So between 15, which is the minimum, the maximum for the sentencing guideline, and the maximum for the offense, which is 40, 22 was a kind of midway to go. But having said that, it is the particular cruelty of the crime. Not because in the past we have had incidents like that were even worse. Blacks being skinned and being burnt. I remember a certain case around 1935 when a woman called Mary Turner, she was burnt, gasolined, and she was pregnant, 8 months pregnant. As she was being burnt, being hanged and being burnt, one of those white guys went there, put his knife, pierced the woman's tummy and the baby.
Let's not paint that picture.
That's what happened. That's what happened.
Picture, okay.
No, sometimes listen again. Listen, please. There's a big debate now in the US.
Yeah.
Even about if they should even learn these things. Like you say, you don't want to hear about it. What they call it critical race theory.
Yeah.
What our forebears did, what our father did. There are some people now in the South, there are some so-called conservative and so-called spiritual religion. They say, we don't want to hear this. We don't know what our parents did. We don't know how evil slavery was. We don't know what it cost. They don't want to hear about those stuff. So And they said, no, let us teach them. Or unless we know, he said, those who cannot remember the past, they are condemned to repeating it. That's what George Santana said. We must know our past if we are to correct our future.
But not painting those gory image for crying out loud. It's too gory.
Yes, but it's what happened. So we must understand where the black man, I'm trying to say, because where the black man is coming from. And where he is also going. So when people say that, and they did this, let me also tell you, people being charged to court, during hearing those days, some white mob will come, they remove the guy from the vehicle, and they will hang the person with the rope. After the court there. They will hang those people before they remove. So that's where the black man is. And this were done with impunity. Those guys were never charged. Those guys were never, nothing happened to them. But today we thank God that things are beginning to take shape. That's why I said, yes, you might not say that like you have 40 years, you could have, why not 40 years? Why not life? These are the guys that were walking away less than 3, 4, 5 years ago. Because there is a systemic racism happening. A white cop kills a black man unless the evidence is so overwhelming. Unless there is political will on the part of the leadership. Unless the people cry as loud as much as they could, he will walk away.
All right.
So that has been the antecedent. But there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Okay. Things are beginning to happen that, look, we can change. That's what the king was talking about, a change of heart. Okay. When he said that the white man cannot become who he ought to be unless and until the black man also become whom he ought to be. All right. So that's how it was. And we are getting there gradually.
I will come back. Now, he talked about the political will.
Yes.
He talked about also, what other factor did you talk about? The political will and, of course, the zeal,
evidence,
so to speak. Evidence, yes. Overwhelming evidence. In this case, there was an overwhelming evidence. The voices were so loud, even in the sports arena, they choose to do one or two things to talk about black life. And here we are, 22.5 years as against life imprisonment, if it's not a death penalty that the family of George was expecting. I mean, take it up from there. Is that not really a slap on the wrist?
Yeah, because when the judge was passing the judgment, he said his judgment is not based on emotions or due to public outcry. He just followed the law. And in that law, the maximum jail term is 40. There's no life there, according to the law. So for the Floyd family to now ask for a life imprisonment or by any other way to go about it is like being too emotional against the law. The law will have to take its own precedence. And what I'm seeing there is hope for the black race. Before now, it has to be very loud, overwhelming evidence. But a step from this moment, from this sentence of Derek Chauvin, is going to be just no matter how minute the evidence is, the law will take its course. So it's just a wake-up call to unraveling some other injustices that were meted out to the black race before now. I'm sure any time from now, anything that happens to the black man or to any person in America will be taken very seriously. Even the white police officers will have to be very careful now, because this is just, as they say, tip of the iceberg of what happened or what has been happening over the years, in the sense that it appears as if they're going to use, or they are using, Derek Chauvin as a scapegoat. Because worse occasions that you didn't allow him to conclude just now, they have all happened. Worse than what happened to George Floyd. Worse occasions have happened. So, but I'm seeing hope for the black race to the point that any of such things happening henceforth and is reported, I'm sure the law will take its course. Judging by what Joe Biden said, that the sentence given to Chauvin is, it seems appropriate. That's what he said.
Use the word appropriate.
Because he is not, it wasn't the judge there. He didn't know details of how they came about that judgment. But if you weigh both sides, that's what he said, the whole thing looked appropriate. And that goes to show again that the administration of Joe Biden will favor the blacks much more than ever before. That Joe Biden is not a racist. Joe Biden is not going to go into xenophobia. That's what led Derek Chauvin into all of this. He played out his name. So what I see in essence is that the black over there should relax a little bit. They should calm down, because this is a victory they have been asking for, looking for over the years, in centuries. And now the victory has come on board. So they shouldn't create any form of disharmony in the society to ask beyond what the law stipulates. Because as we have all agreed now, the maximum according to that Minneapolis law is 40 years. So even if we kill 1 million people, it's 40 years. So it's according to the law, except they're going to amend that part of their constitution. So I'm happy with the judgment. I watched it live on CNN on Friday. I was very happy, and the level of happiness was unquantifiable. So wow, such a thing could happen in our generation. And also applauded the president that such a thing happened in administration. So that will go a long way to bring a sign of relief for all the black people in America. And there's a kind of a memorial to remember all the blacks so treated in similar manners. The day that George Floyd was killed, that day should be remarkable to cover up for all black lives that were lost. If that one is institutionalized, I'm sure it will calm the nerves of all blacks, no matter how aggressive they will appear to be now. They're not happy with the sentence of 22.5 years, but if a memorial is instituted, it will help in a long way.
All right, now we want to go for a break. When we return, we'll continue with this discussion. Was it the Joe Biden's factor that played out? How about it was during the time of Donald Trump? Do you see the judge handing out this sentence? We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Thank you so much for staying tuned. You saw various headlines making the rounds in our papers. Well, if you just joined us, this is an international forum. We're taking a look at Derek Chauvin's sentence, the effect on black lives in the U.S. That is what we are talking about today. I have Honorable Frank Amigo and, of course, Barrister Osahon Osazua with me here in the studio. They are sharing their opinions, their thoughts on the 22.5 years of a sentence meted on Derek Chauvin for the role he played in the murder of George Floyd. Now, the president, Joe Biden, is saying it's a fair judgment. Do you think that this same judgment would have played out during the time of Donald Trump?
That answer, of course, is obvious. But for the sake of our discussion, I will answer. There's no way we would have had this outcome if it were under Donald Trump presidency. This is someone who told all who care to listen that there's nothing like systemic racism in the United States, that the black man is getting his fair share. If he's arrested, it's because he has committed a crime that is not being targeted. And we all know that that's wrong. That the black man, despite constituting less than 20% of the U.S. population, has more than half of every person incarcerated in different U.S. penitentiary and jails. Just 20% to 50%. Something must be happening. That the black man is about 3 times more likely to be shot and killed than the white man, despite also constituting about 20% of the population. So there are certain things, and they know this. So he denied. For someone who denies systemic racism, there's no way this outcome, Derek Chauvin, under Trump, will still be in the force today, and he will still be sleeping on his couch at home as we speak. But we thank God that things have changed, and it took a long time coming. These historical excursions are necessary if you must get the perspective of what is happening. Let me tell you something. Sometimes in 1932, a certain man, Reuben Stacy, one homeless black man somewhere in Kentucky. He was hungry. So maybe after trying to bear the hunger for a very long time, he just approached the house. Didn't know who the occupant was. Then later I know that it was a white woman was there. So he knocked there. As he knocked, trying to solicit for food, the woman looked at and saw it was a black man. In fact, they have been indoctrinated to understand that the black man is a threat. So seeing the black man itself, she almost fainted. A black man knocking on my door. This black, rugged, haggard-looking man. So she screamed. So the neighbors heard and they said, and they took him away. Before you know it, he was lynched and he was hung. He was initially taken by the police. So they went to the station there. Some white mob took the guy from the station. They went back to near the woman's house and they hung him on a tree that was close to the woman's place to see that this is the person that wanted to. But it was more that the mama said, he didn't do anything, it was just, he threatened me, but then it has gone. Then after that incident, they thought that then this guy just knew came in, FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Yeah. So the then NAACP, that's National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, they went to meet Roosevelt. Let's pass laws against lynching. Let's make it a federal crime to lynch black persons. And I tell you something, between 1877 to 1950, about 4,400 blacks were lynched. So they thought that Roosevelt being a progressive, being who he was, one of the greatest presidents ever, but he didn't listen. He didn't have the political class. Of course, he was a Southerner from Georgia too, and then we know that the South has always been the bastion of racism. That's the truth. So he didn't do anything about it. So from then till now, so we have come a long way. So when you see somebody like a Joseph Biden with the moral class, with the righteous indignation, with that zest to do what is right, it's not giving us, it's not being good. It's just doing what ought to be done. Okay. Giving the black man is a fair deal. That everybody be treated equally under the law. So doing that is not doing something too fantastic. But for a long time, no one has had the moral clout. No one has had the political will to do that.
Okay, fine. Now, he said it's because of the person of the President Joe Biden. You're going to react to that. And also, the possibility of an appeal. We have 22 and a half years. If you take a look at it, according to the law, do you see him appealing after talking about the presence of Joe Biden, of course, comparing it to the time of Donald Trump, if it's going to happen this way?
So, as I said, I agree with him totally, because Donald Trump would have allowed such a thing. And the way Donald Trump sounded from day one, it was obvious that he was, and maybe still, a racist. And the way things are played out now, if I could have a handshake with Joe Biden for a job well done, at least it happened in his time. And for the other man, that is now the scapegoat, Derek Chauvin, I don't see him going to appeal within the next 90 days, starting from Friday last week. The reason for that is he expressed his condolences to the family of George Floyd. That they say he couldn't do that because if he had gone to express all that he was sorry, they would have mistaken it for something else. So he just had the opportunity inside the court to express that. So such an action does not call for a downward review of the number of years. Looking at the remorse he displayed in court that day, it was calm, and despite his 45 years plus 22 and a half, I don't think that will be an issue to him. If he has the right conscience, you have killed somebody, and now you are still claiming right. Going back to our appeals, that claiming right. It was a 3-count charge, and he was found guilty in all. I don't think, because of the way he displayed his remorse that Friday, I don't think he's going to appeal that. Even his own lawyer, they tried interviewing him. As I was watching Friday last week, they said no comment. In other words, to me, it shows they are okay with it. Since it didn't go the extreme of 40 years, that would have been 40 plus 45, 95 years in jail. So he didn't go to 40, I didn't go to the minimum of 15, in between, it was a fair thing.
All right, it was a fair thing.
Yeah.
And the thing is that from what you said, it's not going to appeal.
I don't think so.
But take a look at the case of Pistorius. You know the Pistorius in South Africa. I don't know if you can really do this comparison. There was an appeal, so to speak, in this case. Do you see Derek Chauvin appealing these? At least there are some years of parole, so to speak.
Yes, of course. There is a constitutionally opened window for him. It is his right. I think whether he will take it or not is his decision. I think he will take it. When they asked, he didn't say anything because there's another matter pending, another matter that he had. This guy has a long. That's what white people are saying. This guy should not even have been in the police force. He has a long history of brutality towards black persons. He has another matter that is pending. So it's kind of prejudicial for him to say anything then. Whether even to say I'm sorry or it will affect. So that's why he didn't just said he didn't comment about his remorse or about what he feel about his whole thing. So what I think he will take it because it is his right if he to appeal. But he knows and his lawyers know that. Look, my colleague was talking about he was being calm, being. You saw he also calmly killed George Floyd. Yes, if you look at that video, the guy's net on his neck, his hands were in his pocket. Listen,
Calmly killed.
yes, he was unruffled, unrazzled, and unaffected. His hands were in his pockets. If you watch that video, his niece was doing his job. There was these sunglasses in his eye. He was just looking. It's like it was not for almost 10 minutes. Someone was dying, shouting, "I can't breathe." It was just. It's like the man was not there. It's like, I remember Ralph Ellison's book, The Invisible Man. Yeah. As far as he was concerned, that man was invisible. It was nothing. Because the man was not human. So it's like he was leaning upon nothing. So that's why he also calmly killed him. Without remorse, he was so detached as though I'm not doing anything. So we know these people. Adolf Hitler, do you know that Adolf Hitler, for all the death that we attributed to him, he never saw one dead body? When he was traveling during the war, if he was traveling in a train, he had thick curtains. He didn't want to see the destruction that his hands has done. He didn't want to see burning buildings or shattered bodies. He tells people, I don't want to see those things. So that we know those people. So that's the kind of person that the Sherman was. So he also calmly executed that guy, so completely detached, as though he was. When he was looking at those who were filming, he was just looking at them with his hands in his pocket. But his knees was on a man's neck, choking him and taking his life gradually. Systematically, slowly. It's a very gruesome death, my brother. That's how he killed him. So that's that. And the time, like I said, has come for there to be changes. And I thank God for a Biden. Somebody like that. He's just trying to say, let's get it right. And there are so many white people also with him. We will be so mistaken if we sit here and think that every white man is a racist. No. A good majority of white people, they are good-hearted and kind-hearted. You know, there are some that have allowed certain things. What the Bible says, so they say that their hearts and their eyes have been blinded by prejudice. For a long time, they have refused to see the black man as co-equal as created by God. You have to come from that worldview. You have to come from the philosophy that has killed the black man first before you can physically kill him. You have to have convinced yourself over and over again that it's not your co-equal, that it's not even human, that he hasn't come to the final stage of creation, as some racist writers have asserted. So that's people like Chauvin. But we thank God for that someone like, and it's so sad that even though we have a lot of racist white men, that we have a leader, a president of a country who even though you are racist, you keep it. You are a president, that office, there are things you are expected to do. But who openly?
That was in the past.
Yes.
but
so
still,
that's why
he never came out openly to say that he is a racist or he was a racist. Trump didn't do that. I know you have this sentimental attachment or the negative dimension towards Trump. He never came out to say he was or he is a racist.
But by his
no
actions.
comments.
Okay, no comments. Okay, now, would these judgments change anything in America when you talk about the value of black lives? Because once he's saying it's like a tap on the wrist, the lawyers may just advise him to go on appeal, probation, and all that. It's like this doesn't really change anything. The status quo may just remain after Joe Biden. The next president may not have the same mind or inclination like Joseph. What do you think will happen?
Yeah, but my expectation, hopefully, and maybe obviously, this judgment is going to mark a turning point in the lives of black men and women littering over the American continent. So if there'll be another president, aside from Joe Biden, but what Joe Biden has done now is kind of a reenactment of giving the Constitution a human face, that everybody is co-equal before the law. So you can't be co-equal before the law, and later on someone will come back and turn the table. It will be difficult at that point. So it is a time for the black race to have a sigh of relief, such that they will see themselves as human beings. Like some of the pictures they painted earlier on of a man going to knock at the door of a white woman, all those things will be a bygone. To the point that if any of such things happens, even a shadow of it, of a white police officer trying to unjustly attack a black man, it will be on record that this is obvious. It becomes a door to the next chamber of life. That everybody knows that this is the way out. This is the way in. So you're not going to vanish through the wall. So it's a platform that Joe Biden has created in the annals of America right now, whereby other presidents could not do. I'm sure when Joe Biden is going to come up again for a re-election, he's going to win whosoever that will come against him overwhelmingly.
Because of the singular action.
The black race now will be in his support. So what I say there, the black race should thank God for their lives, that a savior like Joe Biden is not a Joseph. A savior came and they have been rescued. They are angry because of the previous centuries, years ago, racism they have experienced. Otherwise, if nothing of such inhumanities were not meted to them, they would have just taken this judgment as simple as it is. But they are looking back to now see down memory lane that previous things were done, even worse off than this. But thank God all the same, that judgment has come. No better time than this.
No better time than this. Now, let's take a look at America as a society. Whether you like it or not, they have the percentage of white populace, black, Hispanic, you just name it. Do you think that with this job, there's going to be a balance, so to speak, in the way government is being run? You talked about systemic racism.
Thank you.
Is it going to eradicate it?
Yes, thank you. Before talking about that, let me quickly say this, my brother. That there are certain basic contradictions about the American society itself. This was a house, a building, that was largely erected on hypocrisy, on lies and pretensions.
Hypocrisy, lies and pretensions.
Then all of them were now blended and then kind of covered with a certain religious perspective. It is sad. I will answer you. Do you know that of the 56 persons that signed the United States Declaration of Independence, 40 of them were slave owners.
40 of them were slave owners?
Yes, of the 56. And of the first 12 presidents of the United States, 10, the first 10, out of the first 12, 10 were slave owners. And yet, they tell us, and we applaud them for it, when they say that we hold these truths to be self-evident. In other words, these truths they are truth in themselves. They are manifestly truth that all men are created equal. So, you see, the foundation from the beginning was 40. There were a lot of hypocrisy. A man says one thing with his mouth, and in his heart, there is another thing. So that has been, it has been going on, because the foundation has been wrong from the very beginning. So it's time for soul searching. It took a Dr. King, that was the moral conscience of the U.S. nation, to prick them, to call them for a change of heart. That the nation has defected on its promise when it says that when they say that all men are created equal, it was actually a promissory note to all Americans that will come, those that were there and those that will come, that we are all created equals. That the eternal has come for us to rise up and live up the full meaning of this creed. All men are created equal. So, and it is gradually, and we are gradually getting there. And I think because America then is now more diverse. America tomorrow will be more diverse than today. Because it's an expanding network of people, different nationalities, the blacks, the brown. For a long time, the blacks were the second now. They are even the third. And very soon the Asians will overtake them. Because people are coming, American is morphing, it's changing. So there is need for us, for them to understand that they have a heart that is large enough to accommodate everybody. Right. Because it's not something, and of course that's also the fear. That's also the fear of the whites. That if it continues, we'll become minorities in our own place. They think they have an inheritance in it, forgetting that they too came.
Red Indians are not minorities.
That they came to meet somebody there.
And
so that's my brother.
Indians. Okay, now I'm going to ask you the same question. Is it going to put to an end this systemic racism he talked about with this judgment?
Well, it should.
It should. That means it wouldn't. Is that what you're saying?
It should, because if the whites will learn their lessons, that they're not better off with even an inch in all ramifications, comparing with other races, that will call them to order that all their actions before now were wrong as far as the interrelationship with the blacks is concerned. So if they don't, that's why it should, that's why it should. If they don't, it goes to show that the worst is yet to come, which we don't pray for. And if that thing happens again, even repeatedly, the blacks will be forced to fight back. Such that you see a white man, you shoot at sight.
I talk about a racial war now.
It can happen, because this one should put an end, total end, complete end to any form of racism in this direction. You said this black man committed a crime. You arrest him, take him to the station. You know, it's not within your powers to kill him. If a white man did the same thing, would you do that same thing to him? He wouldn't do that. So there should be fairness. Equal playground for all of us. We have the same platform to operate. The other Americans, whether they came from north, south, east, and west, once you are domiciled there and you have your papers, you are a citizen of that country. Except they rise up tomorrow to say, if you were not born there, if your ancestors were not from there, you are no longer. But if those laws are still operational, they should see all persons, even the Asians that will come up later to override in terms of population expansion, more than the blacks. Asians are trooping into America ceaselessly. So the earlier they accommodate every person living there, the better for them. So if they are scared that they are majority now, a child will become minority, that's the inferiority complex. Because if you say inferiority complex, why are you scared? You have been there on ground, then somebody just come in, you are just scared. And as he mentioned, just which is true, that the population of the blacks in America is about 20%. So why are you so scared of them? So if they have that same godly mind, then in God we trust. If that thing is still operational in America, this sentencing, this judgment should bring back to life that godly aspect of the American nation. Otherwise, it's a form of hypocrisy to say in God we trust and you are killing people endlessly with impunity, not minding with the aftermath of your actions. So I will want to see it as a wake-up call for all the white Americans to treat their black brothers and sisters as being the same. A black man can donate blood for a white man. There's no race in that. You can donate kidney, any organ. There's no race in that. So what's the skin all about? The skin is just a wrapper.
Someone say it's just all about melanin.
Melanin, that's all. There's no nothing about it.
All right, you've heard them. Our time is almost up. I'm going to give them 1 minute each to sum up their point, because right now many are really reacting to this judgment. Some are happy about it, some are not too happy about it. What others are saying, what's my business? I'm neither white, neither am I black. I'm just there doing my thing. So 1 minute each, gentlemen. What do you think should be the way forward in America to fight racism and to make sure that it sinks into the fabric of their consciousness that black lives matters?
Yes, we have come a long way. There's a big difference between 1955, when that 14-year-old Chicagoan, MET, went somewhere in the South Mississippi to see his neighbor and was lynched for whistling to a white woman, who later told us 50 years later that she was lying. We have come a long way from that. There's a
50 years later that she was lying.
Yes, but the young boy was killed in a very gruesome way, which I don't want to. It's even more gruesome than the one I talked about before. But there is progress, and we'll get there. And I thank God that so many white persons are coming to board, trying to realize that our past is not that fantastic, that our forebears, our forefathers were not that as great as we think. Trying to amend. And it's a good step. Is that is change of heart that Dr. King talked about, and we are beginning to witness it today.
Thank you so much, Osahon Osazua. Honorable Frank Amego, briefly, 1 minute.
Yes. While I agree with him, I want to add up to say that the earlier they accept the black people in their midst, the better for them. Because if they claim that it's a God's own country, that same God can render judgment upon them. That's not to be religious, because that's what you claim you are. You say it's a God's own country. So where is the godliness in your actions? So I want to see this one as a turning point for the blacks and the whites to live in harmony. Peaceful coexistence. That's the word.
All right. Peaceful coexistence, harmony. Thank you so much, gentlemen. I appreciate a wonderful analysis, but it may interest you to know that once upon a time, the blacks were like almost second in population due to the lynching, due to the fight, due to burying of blacks of Central America. The Hispanics, they are coming up. Burying again, the Asians are coming up with this gem. Do you think that the doorways to America will be opened up for the black communities to like coming in from Africa? You never can tell. Maybe, just maybe. What about the Red Indians? That's we are the original inhabitants of that country. Yeah, oh, you don't know? Now you know. Let's see how this judgment can really put this balance when we talk about systemic racial discrimination or criticism. America is for everyone. I hear you say God bless America. What about you saying God bless Nigeria? Yeah. See you next week. God willing. Bye for now.